Everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today's February 14th, 2024, and well, it's been a challenging time for many of us. For my household in particular, there have been some extreme health woes with the family pet. And I'm saying this as I'm going through an intersection while there was someone walking their dog, and also the post carrier was crossing the intersection at the same time. Whatever that means for whoever is out there, I don't know, but I oftentimes talk about little synchronicities. And last night, because we had rounded a bend, we rewatched a movie called It. And in the movie It, there's a character who, when they're, and this is the first chapter version of the newer series of It movies, and when they're in the garage, the kids looking through a slideshow, all of a sudden the slideshow in itself and the information that was presented therein started to cause great panic in one of the kids that were in the garage. And oftentimes I seem to be the one provoking the people to have that type of response, which is apparently a panic attack. And in the people who aren't having panic attacks yet, you're probably experiencing some kind of discomfort when I talk about things that you can't quite tell. Well, how does this relate to that? And why are you talking about this, that, or the other? Well, you see all the birds flying over, almost like a sign that synchronicity-wise, it's all related. And it's also related that we sometimes take for granted some of the symptoms that happen when we have shared energies that carry, let's call it mixed emotions. So during this movie, I did two things that I normally wouldn't be doing. I was drinking and also eating some, let's call it a whole candy bar, basically, an oat milk chocolate candy bar, and a drink also made out of, well, oat milk. So these alternative options are something that are supposed to be more beneficial for the world. And because of that, and also for ourselves and the animals. So it's, overall, it's generally better for everyone involved. The thing is, though, that it still generates a certain amount of waste, let's call it discomfort, because for every bit of living, there's also a percentage of dying off that's occurring. And no matter how we slice it, we're going to feel extremely nervous when we see the relationship between ourselves and everything around us. And for that reason, there are a lot of people who call themselves chosen ones, or light bringers, or saved, or whatever. We all have titles that we associate with, but when we look past those titles that we associate with, then we can see a relationship. And I seem to trigger a lot of people unintentionally just by talking about the relationships that we have, and also where we might want to improve upon those relationships. Sometimes by taking care of the bad thing, taking care of it before it becomes something too tough to handle. Some of us will grow to a point where if we fear taking care of whatever it is that needs to be taken care of, we may not even decide to go to the hardware store because of all of the crazy things that happen around us. You should see, I wish I could show you the weird traffic that's around me when I go out. I wish I could tell you just how at risk I sometimes can imagine myself to feel when I go to places in public. I wish I could tell you how I'm always under the same anxious feeling that would normally trigger some other people to have a nervous response that causes them to want to shut down the conversation, such as the conversation in the garage that was happening with the slideshow, because we were getting a glimpse of it, whatever it might be, that resonates with us in terms of grasping towards our spiritual knowledge. We might not think it's related, and at the same time, again, we can replay this video, we can hear the nuances, the challenges that were occurring, we can see, and we can also see, just as an example, how someone else is dealing with all those stressors, while other people might be caught up in litigation, caught up in arguing, caught up in physical confrontation, and also caught up in having their own bodies fail when they get caught off guard because of panic. When we panic, we can't continue a conversation usually. When we panic, we can't even pay attention to what it is that we are tasked with. And it's an emergency situation at that point when we're panicked. But we really should aspire to no longer be panicked about the things that literally have no control over us. You know, we should aspire to think about the concept of just imagining the saying, "Get behind me, Satan." You know, just imagining that it has an actual power, that it has an actual meaning and relevance, and that we as friends should be able to discuss circumstances where even other friends might not be present at that moment because of the fact that some of us are acting as if we're not present and in control at all times. And for a lot of people, this might just sound like a long-winded rant, but for some of you who are in this mix, who are hearing what's happening right now and understanding this is live, this is the kind of stuff that happens every day that I'm talking about. Some of you, I've talked with you on the phone about these things. Some of you, I've texted with you. Some of you have emailed with you. And some of you are simply just watching and not really responding because you don't know how to. You don't know what direction to think. Well, just relax. Know that you're having a great day and try to do everything you can to bring beauty to those around you. And also recognize that the very packaging of the things that we get sometimes is kind of worth noting as a destructive, I don't know if you could pick that up, the honk that happened at that moment, as a destructive tendency. And so for some of us, the concept of fasting and prayer can be something that we hear and we can shun. Just the same way that someone can look at an animal and shun it and say, "Oh, I don't like this kind of animal or the other," or they'll use other words. Hate speech, hate words. And that's bigotry. And once we get to that point where we're in silence thinking these thoughts and hostilely imagining them towards one another and recognizing that it's causing exacerbations of some of the troubles that we're experiencing in our own homes, at that point, when we recognize that we can forgive one another, we can also learn to forgive ourselves. And as we learn to forgive ourselves, when someone runs into my car, someone just passed by, almost like they were timing it so that I could say that when I pointed. When someone runs into my car and basically tries to flee from the circumstance and almost runs me over, that's not a natural thing to happen to me. So here I am at a public hardware store where we know that people can even go to mega churches and shoot it up. And here I am at a place where I will do what I can to bring a situation to order and control, no matter what it happens to be that I'm tasked with. So today my task was to bring you something that made you go, I wonder why I'm trying to practice all these ritualistic things of only going to other places and doing other things when we need help right here within our own families. I wonder why we're doing these things over and over and not really paying attention. Well, I'm barely able to, with the amount of monetary woes that are going on, I'm barely able to pay attention to things without thinking that I'm worried about money. That creates a stress in my body. And recently I've presented that subject many times actually, and I've presented options where if you want to help to contribute towards the success of something that I'm struggling through, you can actually find the link in the description, click on it and see. And if it's not me that you want to help, and if you just want to direct money to something, if you have money to give, well, I've also in some cases put the address of my own father to be a recipient of some kind of change, maybe dollars and change for that matter. I don't know if you heard that honk, but either way, all of these are just thoughts that I'm sharing on my personal page from my heart to yours on this otherwise average day that really has no meaning unless we all contribute in some way towards sharing that energy. So with love from all of my heart, I wanted to say thank you for riding along on this journey. I hope that you enjoy some of the crazy concepts that I present here with the examples that I give live. And if you could just see the chaos that's around me, that's going to absolutely cease when I stop this video so that I can get out and go about my chores, you'll know that something is helping to line me up in the path of ease, as long as I don't continue to gravitate for the things that are not really necessary. So here I am having to struggle through a speech again because, and that's confirmation, the person walking by, because I'm putting myself at these risks just like any of us are. I'm creating more waste by buying this thing that I'm going to buy, and so that I can install it and address a situation today. But nonetheless, I'm buying a thing that's creating more waste. So I'm not separate from anything I'm describing. I'm suggesting that there is probably a way to more effectively conduct our business without continuing to destroy the resources in the ways that we are, because of the very slow ways that our fathers would tend to make progress. In this world right now, what we need is to, with a grain of courage, team up with one another to accomplish those things that we could accomplish much more quickly and easily if we focused our attention on the things that really needed help. Until next time, thanks so much for helping. Peace, love, and all that old school stuff.